Hi guys, I'm Danny, and I started a Sunday gym because I've noticed lately that people tend to go to colleges and universities without actually knowing why they're there. And afterwards, starting jobs that are unfulfilling. So I'm interviewing different professionals to see what they have to say and share their knowledge and experience with you. I hope you enjoy it. Right on, Chuck. How are you doing today? Thank you for joining.
Thank you. It's great to be with you, and it's been a great day here in the U.S.
Been a great day here too. Pretty much a lot of sun, a lot of good sunny weather, and we're almost like at the end of October now, so it's pretty good. Like walking around on a t-shirt, that's pretty nice.
Very nice. Absolutely.
Right on. The program will be focused on three main questions. What do you do for a living? How did you get there? And how did you know this was the way to go? So, Chuck, tell us what you do for a living, please.
So I'm the president and founder of my company is called Whitewater Consulting. We are a HR consulting practice for small and mid-sized companies, and we serve and support those business leaders that own those companies throughout the U.S.
That's amazing. So were you like walking on the street one day and you were like, let me be a president of a company related to HR, or did something else lead to that?
There's a lot of things that led to this.
I got a lot of time.
So it's interesting. I grew up in a family-owned business in the central part of Illinois, and so I've always been around and been involved with business owners. And so over the, probably over 30 plus years now, we have been involved in business ownership in about 6 different companies. And the work that I do today with Whitewater Consulting is really, it's kind of a roll up of everything that has taken place over the last 25 years. When I go back and look at the early years of my career, I was involved at a business ownership level of a very successful company. I was very young and had very little experience of being a business owner at that time. I really didn't understand how to manage risk. And so we were involved again in an organization that was very successful. We just made some really poor mistakes at the leadership level. And we ended up having to sell that company just to get out from underneath the financial difficulties that we created ourselves. And so when I look back on those times, it's one of those moments in your life that really changes the overall trajectory of what life is going to look like. And so I realized as I went through that, there's a couple of things that I've learned. One is there's real value in having mentors and business coaches around you that can help advise you and help guide you on that journey. And then the second thing is, I think that if you take ego and you take pride out of the equation, you can really start to look at, really what are my talents? What kind of gifts do I have? What are my passions? And then ultimately, what kind of a mindset do I want to have from this point going forward that will help change the type of work that I do? And so I saw as I went through kind of what I call the mountaintop to the valley experience. There were times when I got to the valley that I realized that I didn't need to be a CEO. I didn't need to be a high business leader. I just needed to really focus back in on where my gifts and my talents were and where my passions were. And that was really about serving and supporting small and mid-sized business owners and helping them really navigate the challenges that they come up against as it relates to operating their business. And when you look at most small to mid-sized companies today, their people are their greatest assets that they have.
Absolutely.
And so we help our clients really focus in on having a balanced focus on profits of the organization and their people, so that because you have to have both to be able to be successful for the long term.
I love when you said to take pride out of the equation. I'm for a while now, good part of the last decade, I've been talking to people from all over the world, and it's a problem that we're all facing. And it's funny how we all have it and almost none of us are noticing it. When you take pride out of the equation, a while ago I had this conversation with a young lady, tremendously smart. She said my biggest problem was, she was into something and it wasn't for her. I didn't know how to confront my parents about it. And like, my parents were pretty easygoing. I didn't know how to confront myself. I graduated a lot of things, but one of them was the CCNA hardware architecture for Cisco.
Okay.
And I was so full of ego and pride. Like, look at me and the title and everything. And this was, I worked like a couple of months on those Cisco projects, and it was absolute hell. And I couldn't admit it to myself. Like, my friends were talking to me about, like, you don't look the way you usually do. My parents, my sibling, and I. Now it's everything is fine. I can, so what I can 100% agree with you. Remove the ego and the pride out of the equation, and your life is so much better. But that, I don't know. I wouldn't even call it vanity. It was, I don't know what it was, but I couldn't let go, and I knew I hated it.
Exactly. And I think that there are so many, I don't want to categorize men being, in that, and a lot of the people that I talk to are business owners, and a lot of them happen to be either Gen X or baby boomers, and they're guys. And what's really interesting is I talk with them more often than not. They don't like to really, they want to be able to talk about and focus on the wins that they've had and success that they've had. I know from my background and my experience that any business owner that's been around for very long at all, they've made mistakes along the way. And I think that's where I realize a lot of times we don't learn from the success that we have, but we have, most of the time we're learning from the mistakes that have been made. And so I think that when we're talking about pride and about ego, if I just go back 3 years and we look at when the pandemic hit, most business owners that I talked to at that point, they felt like they had everything under control. At least they wanted to present the image that they had everything under
Okay.
control. The reality was, when the pandemic hit and they had to send all of their people home, they had no idea what to expect, and they really realized
Almost nobody did. Like,
nobody
that was a
did.
pretty new thing.
It was, but it was a great aha moment for a lot of business owners, because
Yeah.
they realized there's so much that's out of their control, and they could take that mask off of being able to show their people, I've got everything under control. Take the mask off and show, hey, I'm a guy just like everybody else here, and we're going to learn along the way. And they really realized the importance of their people and the teams that they had around them, and those business owners that communicated and stayed engaged with their teams along the way, those companies actually ended up thriving throughout the pandemic, versus those business owners that said, you know what, I'm going to keep that mask on. I've got everything under control. I'm going to just let my people go and focus on myself. And when that happened, those companies continued to struggle throughout the pandemic.
Because it was all fake. Like, because if you have it under control, you have it under control. You don't have to pretend. If you have to pretend, it's all fake. It's a house of cards. Well, everything is basically a house of cards in this economy, but you know what I mean. And I can 100% confirm, because I actually work for that kind of a company, and it's an international, right? And one of the managers from the Polish team, I'm sure a lot of managers did that. I just know the guy personally. He actually left his personal phone to all of the colleagues over there, all the people that work with him, because there were people who didn't have anybody to talk to, and he was always on the phone after work with them. Hey, how was your day? How you doing? Just normal small things that have huge impact, and I have tremendous respect for this man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So being able to be authentic in today's world, particularly as a business leader, I think that's critically important. And even they don't have to be a leader, but just people in general. If we could just take the mask off and just be authentic, the relationships and the connections that get made go so much deeper. And actually, what's really interesting, I talk about a lot of these things about transparency and authenticity, and being vulnerable as a business leader. I talk about that in my book that I had published. I actually wrote the book through the pandemic, and it's called Unprecedented. And it's really written for entrepreneurs and small business owners, really helping them.
Coming out?
So it's actually out. You can get it on Amazon today. The book is called, again, the title of it is called Unprecedented: Building Help. Let me grab it here real quick.
Grab it here,
right
and
here.
the link will be in the description below.
So I absolutely, and so the subtitle is really what captures the business owner's attention, because it's helping those business owners build a multi-generational business on trust, respect, and the valuing of their people. So this has been one that the book's been very, very well received in the marketplace, and so it's been. Again, it's for me, it's a tool that I use to help be able to differentiate myself from a lot of the other consultants that we work together with.
Well, not only that, the tremendous decades of experience, that's pretty good. And the third question is a little bit odd. It's how did you knew that this was the way to go? Now you kind of covered it already when you were up over there at the top, and then you fall, so you had to like revalue the things around you. But in all fairness, you have tremendous experience, a lot of experience. You've seen a lot of things. You have pretty good skills. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been successful at what you're doing. So truth be told, you could have done a lot of things. You could have been a lot of things. Right. And most of them would have probably suited you because of the various set of skills that you picked up along the way. But yet you have chosen that one. The reason I'm asking, and I'm pretty sure you've noticed that too, people tend to go to colleges and universities, and I'm not against academic institutions. Now I have to say that in every video. It's crazy. I'm just highlighting the fact that people, young people, students are going over there without actually knowing why they're there. They just go there because that stigma that you have to have a diploma, otherwise you're not smart, which is absolutely not true. I don't know how. I'm sure everybody can prove that by now. But yet the stigma's there. So it's impossible, according to me, and my guests are usually much wiser than I am, so correct me when I'm wrong. According to me, it is impossible to be for a person to be happy when you do something 8 or 10 hours a day that's not for you. You end up being miserable. According to me, there's no other way around it. So that's basically why I made that channel, so that I can give all those amazing examples. And I think that you really have a lot to say on this one. So how did you know that this was the way to go for you?
So well, I actually did go to college. So then that was just.
So do I. I'm doing a PhD right now.
Okay. So yes, one of those things where that was just for me, it was just part of the track and the expectation. When you get through with high school, you go right into college and get your degree. And it was for me, it was a good move to go ahead and go that path. However, the degree that I got from spending 4 years at a university was actually a degree that was under agriculture, and it was called agriculture economics. Nice. The reality is, it's a degree and it's a diploma and something that I can put on my wall, but it has nothing to do with the life that I've lived and the work that I do today. So, and I think when I talk to a lot of younger people today, again, they don't really know. In many cases, they don't know who they are, or they don't know what they really want to do in life. They're there because that's kind of where it's more about the parents have directed them there than them making that choice themselves. And so I think that there's just a lot of times that, in today's world, especially, you see a lot of people that are not going to a 4-year college, but they're actually going into the trades, or they're going out and just starting up becoming an entrepreneur and starting up their own business. And there's investment and there's cost to those things, but the cost of that versus the cost of going to a college for 4 years is considerably less in most cases. And so you get great experience. You don't have the student debt coming out. And you're actually in a much better place investing those 4 years and trying to figure out on your own, what path do you really want to go? Where are my gifts or my talents, and where are my areas of passion that I want to be able to spend my 8 to 10 hours a day? I can tell you from experience, I have chased the dollar for so many years, and I did that, and we were successful with that, but I was absolutely miserable the majority of that time. Today, when I look back over the last 5 years, last 10 years, I'm probably as happy today. I'm definitely more content and at peace with life because I'm doing what I absolutely love to do.
Right. And you can absolutely never put a price on happiness and peace.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter how much money, it ain't no price there.
And I think that as you look at the younger generation, you look at the younger millennial generation and the Gen Z that's coming up, I think their focus actually for life is much more in balance, having balance between their work and their outside life. And the way that I try to describe that, and I think that it certainly resonates with a lot of people from my generation. Work was the center of our world, and we tried to fix life and fit life into around work. And as we look at the younger generation, their approach is this is life, and and work is going to be a piece of what I do, but it's not going to be my sole focus.
Which rarely ends up well, to be honest.
Absolutely. Much happier, much healthier, and I think a much more successful, society that will come from that.
Couldn't agree more. In all fairness, like here in Europe, like there are a few universities and colleges that are crazy expensive. The majority of them are like pretty affordable. I graduated in Denmark. My master's degree is from Denmark, so that was free. You just have to live there. I graduated as my bachelor degree was from a private college, a Danish college, and private colleges are a little bit more expensive. I was able to pay the entire college with a salary, and I was a bartender at the time. So I mean, I was a bartender in a pretty good place. They paid well, but bartender salary, right? So, and my PhD right now is like 500 euro for 1 year. That's like 520 or 30 US dollars for a year, which is
wow.
It's pretty affordable.
That is, yes. I mean, compared that to the States, I mean, a lot of times students that are going to college, they're spending 20, 25, 50,000 a year just to be able to go for that 1 year. So they're coming out, in many cases, they're coming out with 50 to 100,000 in student loan debt.
You purchase an apartment for those money.
It's certainly, it gives me a different perspective on the value of colleges today. I've got 3 kids that are all grown. All 3 of my kids went to college. 2 of the 3 actually ended up graduating. The one that did not is actually doing extremely well on her own right now. So it proved to me that college is not for everyone, and you can be.
And that's not an insult.
No, absolutely not.
I don't know what. It is great. So no, the issue was never exactly with the money. Like I know in the US sometimes it's crazy expensive, but you've lost money, I've lost money, we all lost money, right?
Sure.
But when you lose time, it's really, I think, a bigger problem. And that's exactly why I started the whole thing, because yeah, okay, you're gonna lose money eventually. I don't care who you are, what you do, eventually it's going to happen. That's how life is. But when you lose 4 years of your life for something that is clearly not for you, and let's say good 5 or 6 years more, we're talking about 10 and sometimes 15 years. And for a young person, that's a lot of time. Losing that much time at a young age, I'd consider that a loss.
Absolutely, for sure, a big loss for sure. And you can never recover those hours or those days that you've lost. So you can always in many cases you can recover the money that you've invested or that you've lost, but you can never get that time back.
Couldn't agree more. Chuck, as a closing, could you please give an advice for the people that are watching, mostly those that are in universities right now, but overall in general, the audience? If you can give one solid advice, what is it going to be?
I would say don't put too much pressure on yourself to try to figure everything out in a short period of time. You've got the next 5 years, the next 10 years to really be able to go out in your 20s and try to figure out life, figure out again what your talents and your gifts are, what your passions are, and then really develop that mindset of always learning and growing, regardless of whether you're 20 or whether you're 70. There's always opportunities to be able to learn and to grow. So never stop learning, and just continue to invest in yourself. That's where you'll get your greatest return.
That beautifully said. With that said, Chuck, thanks for being with me. Please don't forget to send me all the links about the book and everything you're doing. They're going to be in the description below.
Thank you so much.
Right on. Have a good day. Guys, I hope this one was useful. Please follow the channel on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Gap, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Ring the bell and all the good stuff. Have a nice week ahead, and I'll see you next Sunday.